How many wolf dogs are out there that are being displaced by their families, so are needing to be surrendered, that kind of thing? And then I asked myself, well, is there anybody actually helping these animals?
Yamnuska Wolfdog Sanctuary is a specialized nonprofit organization that is located in Cochrane, Alberta, just east of the Rocky Mountains here.
So the origin of the sanctuary and kind of how this place came to be is an interesting, kind of complicated journey for sure. As a kid, it's not like I grew up saying, hey, oh my God, I want to start a wolf dog sanctuary. This is what I want to do with my life. I wanted a wolf dog as a pet. So I got my first wolf dog, Kuna, who is the alpha female of the Yamnuska pack. And I got her when I was about 19 years old. I was in the middle of my university degree and honestly had no business getting a high content wolf dog at all. I went through the struggles that people generally go through when they get their hands on these animals. I went through a lot of challenges with her, and there was even a moment in time that I thought, oh my goodness, I can't handle this animal. Like this, I can't give her what she needs to be happy. What am I gonna do? Luckily enough, I kind of made the decision that, you know what, I was going to do whatever it took to make Kuna happy, no matter what changes I had to make to my lifestyle and what sacrifices I had to make. I mean, I obviously was successful in the sense that Kuna's still here. She's about 11 and a half years old now. And yeah, it was definitely a journey for me.
We first started as a necessity almost to create a space where displaced animals, wolf dogs, could go and have a second chance at their life. The owner of the sanctuary who got her first wolf dog at a very young age, and through her she realized that wolf dogs aren't your typical dogs at home. They require a lot more expertise and resources to take care of, and a certain lifestyle that a lot of people aren't able to provide for their typical companion pets. Wolf dogs require something different, and she realized there wasn't a lot of resources out there, a lot of education, and a lot of support for wolf dogs and people who are experiencing the challenges of having these guys as pets. And so in 2011, she made the very amazing, incredible decision to just switch her lifestyle around, accommodate her wolf dog, and create the sanctuary. And it was born out of almost this natural need to provide her animal, Kuna, the best possible place that she could ever had and needed all along. And through that, she realized that a lot of people are in her situation as well, who maybe didn't get into it, bought a wolf dog, not really knowing all the challenges that go into them. And there wasn't that lot of support. So she also focused when she created the sanctuary to give these animals who were being displaced, bounced from home to home, or euthanized, because there is no other option for them, giving them that third option, a place that they can go. But as well, educating people on the challenges of wolf dogs, what it actually takes to have one as a companion pet successfully, and give them that support as well.
It's also really important to educate people about wolf dogs and wolf conservation, because it is something that a lot of people don't know a ton about, especially on the wolf dog side of things. And they get more and more popular, and we need more and more people to understand the challenges that they come with and that they really aren't the most ideal pets in the entire world. We also encourage our staff and our volunteers to take time to go and spend time with the wolf dogs and have some time just to go in and give them some pets if that's something that they're into. Some of the wolf dogs don't like interaction with humans for the most part, so we might limit it for those wolf dogs because it's not something that really they enjoy all that much. But for enclosures like that, we still want them to learn that humans are not terrible and that we're here to care for them and all that kind of thing. So we'll encourage either our staff or volunteers to go in and just sit down and toss treats to them. And it's just a bunch of positive enrichment for them that they're learning every time us scary humans come in, we bring goodies, and it makes it a little less scary for them. So even for the animals that maybe aren't as social, we still want to go in and have some interaction with them. We just each wolf dog. We got to know them really well and know what's going to be best for them. A lot of people don't know that wolves and dogs are fully able to interbreed and have a really hard time understanding that people intentionally breed them to make exotic pets. So a lot of people will say, what is a wolf dog? And then you tell them and they'll say, why do people breed wolf and dog together? So I mean, that's always good because those are the people that understand they don't really make the best pets in the entire world.
When we're talking specifically about high content wolf dogs, one of the most fundamental issues that people end up having with these animals is that ultimately they don't have an affinity towards humans the same way that a domestic dog does. So when we think about our domestic dogs, these are animals that have been bred to want to be around us humans, want to work for us humans, that kind of thing. And when it comes to wolves in the wild, it's essentially the opposite, right? They essentially were bred in the wild or evolved in the wild to avoid humans, be scared of humans, and really want nothing to do with humans. And that's thanks to the 100 years of humans hunting wolves, right? And so when you think about these high content wolf dogs, you're dealing with an animal that is very much mainly wolf and therefore is going to retain a lot of these instinctual wolf behaviors. So that lack of affinity towards humans is a big one, because you end up with an animal that doesn't naturally want to be around you, doesn't naturally want to cooperate with you, work for you, that kind of thing. And so straight out of the gates, even as a puppy, you've got an animal that does not have the foundation or the framework to be an animal that wants to be around people. So when it comes to the high content wolf dogs as puppies, you're essentially trying, when you're socializing them and training them, you are working against nature, right? You are essentially trying to convince them that these generations and generations of instinctual behaviors that are telling them that humans are scary and bad, that is wrong. And so that is a very challenging thing to do. And so other than the lack of affinity towards humans, other challenges are that they are extremely destructive. They generally don't do well indoors. They're very fearful of humans and anything to do with humans. So that means that you cannot just load your wolf dog up in, the back of your vehicle and, just easily take them to the vet. You can't take a high content wolf dog, generally speaking, and walk it down the street in a town, take it to a dog park, that kind of thing, go on hikes with it, right? And so there's just a lot of limitations that exist when we're talking about the behaviors of a high content wolf dog. When it comes to people that try to have these high content wolf dogs as pets, some people get very lucky and have kind of that one-of-a-kind animal that was born with the ability to do those things, but that is the exception and not the rule. Generally speaking, when it comes to the high content wolf dogs, they just don't have the framework that is required in a canine for them to be pets and live that companion animal type of lifestyle. When it comes to typical shelters, SPCAs, that kind of thing, they just don't have the facilities, the knowledge base to be able to take these animals on, and oftentimes they don't want to take on the liability. That is a big thing. There are private rescues that sometimes will take in some of the lower content wolf dogs because they usually are more manageable, that kind of thing. But as far as an established place for wolf dogs to go to, it doesn't exist because a zoo isn't going to take an animal that's part dog. The fact that wolf dogs do have dog content in them, they cannot just be released into the wild. That's extremely irresponsible. And so other than the odd private dog rescue that might be willing to take on a wolf dog, really, there wasn't an established place that people can really turn to for help with their wolf dogs. So I wanted to just be a place for people to turn to, whether it's education about wolf dogs, awareness about wolf dogs, but also a place that people can surrender their animals and ensure that they're not going to be euthanized and are going to have a good place to live.
The owner of the sanctuary, she has just such a golden big heart that she saves animals of all kinds, not just wolf dogs. So we have a herd of goats, we have a donkey, we have chickens, we have geese, we have horses, we have yaks, we have abundance of other domesticated dogs that we've gotten from auctions or any other type of situation. And they stay here, this is their home, and we try and give them as much enrichment and attention as we do with the wolf dogs too, because they also have a really important role.
Our enclosures are a minimum of half an acre to about 2 acres in size. When it comes to the high content wolf dogs and animals that do live here as permanent residents, they need the space in order to be happy, right? They need the space in order to be mentally healthy. If they end up being scared of something or have a fear response, they need to have the space and just the proper area, like a forested area, that kind of thing, in order to hide and be able to express a lot of those natural instinctual behaviors that they were a wild wolf, they would be able to do that.
So the enclosures here at the sanctuary, we have 11 currently right now. With the new rescues that we've taken in, we're looking to expand that to add an additional 3 enclosures. Each one of the enclosures we have, they vary in size and kind of layout, so to speak. The average size of the enclosures here all range from about 1.5 acres to 2 acres in size. So a pretty substantial amount of space. One of the things we do here is we take a great amount of pride in building the enclosures for the dogs, because I mean, some of them have come from kind of crappy places, some of them have come from good places as well, but we really want them when they come here to, have it as best as possible. We want to kind of give them like the most opportune, perfect scenario environment that they could ever have that you wouldn't really necessarily find anywhere else. So with our enclosures, they're very laid out in a very natural setting. They have a ton of tree coverage. There's lots of elevation changes, so we'll work with the environment to kind of provide proper elevation changes, just things that are going to keep them stimulated, keep them happy. Each of the enclosures, like I said, there's a few that are kind of specific or kind of unique in their layout. Some of them will have a partition so that you have the ability to introduce another animal and still have a fence line separating them. They all have vehicle gates, so if you need to move a vehicle in for doing some touch-up work or moving trees out or any large objects, you need to have the ability to do so. They all do have a dig guard on them. It's 8-foot tall fencing with a 2.5-foot overhang. So the fencing is kind of the biggest cost when it comes to working with these enclosures, because it is quite specialized, so that means we're having to contract that out. It's not something we can do here in-house. So with the fencing, the vehicle gates, then double gated man entries, it does kind of add up a considerable amount of cost, and they do require a considerable amount of upkeep as well, whether it's just gates coming out of adjustment or, things moving with the temperature, trees, stuff like that. It's definitely enough to keep someone quite busy for a lot of the time.
Very good girl, Eska.
Among the brush and woodland, a new addition to the Yamnuska Wolfdog Sanctuary. This is 1.5-year-old Eska. She is still slightly skittish, but is quickly adapting to her new surroundings, becoming more curious each day.
They want to know what's going on, and they're starting to get that curiosity. And that curiosity is what allows us to start building that confidence with them.
Eska is one of 13 animals rescued as part of a cruelty investigation outside Alberta. Where exactly the animals are from and the nature of their experience is not being released, as the case is still being investigated. But Alex Harris and the Yamnuska team say they traveled more than 3,000 kilometers to rescue the animals. All in all, 10 wolf dogs and 3 sled dogs were seized, all at risk of being euthanized.
Essentially, we went out and we were able to rescue some wolf dogs, and they're all pretty shy and timid. A lot of that comes down to they probably didn't have as much socialization as needed for a lot of these higher content wolf dogs.
The rescue was a massive undertaking. The group says they need to raise $160,000, and that's to cover the vet bills, but also to cover the cost of new enclosures for the animals.
The most important is providing them with what they should have had all along. So running around, playing with their friends, getting into mischief together, but safely. So it can cost at least $50,000 to build one enclosure, and we need to build 3.
And because the wolf dogs are much more wolf than dog, they will stay at the sanctuary permanently, and why the public is being asked to help build those safe havens. The hope to provide a protective environment for these majestic creatures to run wild.
When it comes to all the wolf dogs that are out there that need placement, I mean, we only have room for so many. And the most recent rescue that we did, where we brought in 10 new wolf dogs, we essentially had to make the decision that we're gonna bring these animals in no matter what, and we are going to have to essentially figure it out.
This is absolutely the largest scale rescue we've done all at once, and so it was a lot of things that had to come together to make it happen. And that was a few conversations with every staff member to make sure that, you know, we can make this happen. It wasn't really an option for us. It was, we are saving these animals from being euthanized. Now we have to make it work in whatever way we possibly can. So that involved us putting all hands on deck and building 2 temporary enclosures that we put up in like a day or two that we need to make sure that we had available so those animals had a safer space to come to than what they came from. And so it wasn't really much discussion in that aspect. It was, we are doing this, we are saving these animals, and now we have to figure out how we're exactly going to do that now. So it's part of our charitable mandate. We rescue wolf dogs and we save them from being euthanized or displaced or from these awful, horrendous situations they find themselves in to no fault of their own. And so when we are then trying to figure out, okay, where do we go from here? It's, okay, let's get our community involved. Let's have our supporters come and see these animals or share their stories and their messages so that they get to know these animals and they get to know why we went out and we saved them.
It was literally, okay, they're going to go get these animals. So it was hectic, very hectic. It's a matter of really quickly building temporary spaces for some of these animals. We didn't have built enclosures for all of them. We did have a few different spaces that were able to kind of shuffle some animals around and make it work, but we did have to build some just temporary containment with large chain link panels, that kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, building those, it was not the best weather in the world. And yeah, it's just, we all have to come together and figure it out. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit more extended out, a little bit more further to get to them, that kind of thing. But it's just so nice to get to see these animals now in places where even starting to see their personalities coming out. Like it can really take its time, but seeing any progress is just so rewarding, and it makes those hectic days very, very worthwhile.
These wolf dogs that we just brought in, they were living in extremely small containment. So we essentially are fortunate enough that we were able to build just temporary holding pens, lockdown pens, that the animals can be kept in throughout the winter where they're going to be safe and happy, so that we can wait for all this snow and cold weather to pass, raise the funds, and then build proper enclosures for them in the spring. Not the most ideal way of doing things, but it was either that or these animals would end up being euthanized. And so we made the decision that, you know what, we're just going to do what we can to get these animals to a safe place and ensure that what we are giving them in the meantime is appropriate, but then in the springtime really give them that proper enclosure so that they can live the rest of their lives in just a safe, happy, and secure place.
The big fundraising initiative we have at the moment is called the From Alone to Home Wolf Dog Rescue Campaign. So this is our largest scale campaign we have done to date. It is $160,000 that we need to raise by spring 2021 to make sure that we have the funds necessary to build 3 new enclosures for our 10 newest wolf dog rescues. And as well cover their rescue costs and cover their veterinary care as well that they required when they did come into our care. So because it is our biggest and most important fundraiser we've ever done, we're spending lots of attention and lots of focus on different ways that people can involve through that campaign. So we have an online campaign going right now where people can donate directly to the campaign through Canada Helps. It's on our website, it's on our social media, everything like that. We also have a thing called Wolfdog Warriors. So any donations made in person for this campaign specifically, people are able to fill out kind of these little forms where they can acknowledge who or what they're donating for. That message gets put onto our wall. Center wall of our visitor center is called our Wall of Wolfdog Warriors. And then they actually get a physical certificate in return acknowledging that they made this donation and that they're an advocate and a champion for wolf dogs and their safety and well-being. So we have a long way to go. We have raised almost 25% of the funds already in just a few weeks, but we still have so much more to go. So we really do need support, and it is our largest and most important fundraising campaign we've done to date. And any help that we can get, support in any way that is suitable for anybody, is what we need right now and what we're appreciative and what we're very, very grateful for.